part of the goal of SUPERFRONT was to create a platform and a venue where the outside world could just peek in and see this sort of amazing productivity and brilliance and cultural criticism that happens within the context of architecture. SUPERFRONT is a venue for promoting experiments between architects and other disciplines, and also for promoting work from emerging architects, and also taking those ideas and putting them in a cultural context, especially here in bed-stuy, Brooklyn. SUPERFRONT really started as an outline for an exhibit, and I realized that there was no space to exhibit the kind of show that we were sort of mapping out. I was looking for a space where I could really sort of host collaborations and host this exhibit. And I just happened to walk here on Atlantic Avenue. I peered through the door, and there was a hung ceiling at about 8 feet. And it turned out it was the office of a sheet metal company that was leaving. But I thought there was something really special because the space was so poorly used that the landlord would potentially let me do whatever I wanted. And that's exactly what happened. This is really an opportunity for me to make a lot of mistakes. There aren't that many opportunities in a professional sense to make mistakes. In architecture, and I think it's really important in the process of learning. So SUPERFRONT is a sort of laboratory for me to make mistakes in terms of managing a business, which I think is something that architects tend to do very poorly, which I wanted to learn how to do. In terms of leading, in terms of building a staff, inspiring people, in terms of marketing and publications. There is so much intelligence that's produced in architecture, and so few places for that intelligence to actually reach the outside world. And I think it's almost a travesty. It's sort of a wasted resource almost, the minds of architects. And when I say that, I'm talking about the kind of excessive research that architects do, the amazing theorizing that architects do. Because architects, to be honest, I think are not that good at writing and publishing. Architects are really good at speaking, but no one's going to go hear architects speak other than architects, unfortunately, unless people are famous. So that's sort of that predominant platform of sort of a podium and an audience. Architects are beautiful at it. I think architects are amazing performers in that context, but that's never going to reach a wider public. Can architecture provoke a critical engagement about what is a building supposed to do, what is a site supposed to do? What's the point of creating a public space, whether it's temporary, whether it's in a gallery or not, if you're not questioning the relationship between the architect and the public, right? In the space we're sitting in right now, the backyard behind the Brooklyn Gallery, a young group called KIT are building, these young architects here in Brooklyn are building a canopy out of hula hoops, this sort of amazing ceiling for the backyard space, for a local group called New York City Explorers Carnival, which is a sort of family-oriented summer program. The conceit was really to sort of reverse the usual priorities, especially in terms of exhibiting architecture. I find this to be a thread underpinning SUPERFRONT, is that we cannot, as architects, practice autonomy, architectural autonomy, meaning that we're making architecture about architecture all the time and talking to only architects about architecture all the time, and at the same time have this pretense that we are expanding the figure of the architect and taking on these broader and broader sort of cultural issues and questions from ecology to political economy. Part of what SUPERFRONT does is sort of muddle the question of what an architect's responsibility is and what an architect's sort of terrain is in terms of cultural production. Is it the architect's territory to question urban planning? Is it the architect's territory to question relationships between the body and movement and performance? And my position is yes, it is the architect's territory. But of course there are other disciplines who may do that better than us. So I think when we operate in a broad cultural territory, it's also our responsibility to learn from other disciplines and learn from the other people that we collaborate with.